Commander Allison Wright stared at the main screen of Earth Defense Command. Her coffee went cold in her hand. The object shouldn't be there. It had appeared from nowhere just 3 hours ago. "Run the scans again," she ordered. Officer Paul Mason shook his head. "We've tried everything, Commander. Radar, lidar, thermal imaging. All signals just disappear when they hit it. It's like it's swallowing them." The object was massive and completely black. Not the black of space with tiny pinpricks of reflected starlight. This was something deeper, a void that seemed to cut a hole in reality itself. "Any response to our communication attempts?" Allison asked, though she already knew the answer. "None, Commander. We've tried all frequencies, all known protocols. The thing just sits there." Allison felt the weight of command heavy on her shoulders. It was 2087, and humanity had spread to Mars and built stations around Earth and the Moon. They had handled small conflicts between colonies and mining disputes in the asteroid belt, but nothing like this. "Get me the Secretary of Defense," she said. 2 hours later, Allison stood in a room full of the most powerful people on Earth. Their faces showed the same mixture of fear and confusion she felt. "Military options?" asked the American president. General Frank Bishop cleared his throat. "We could launch missiles, but we have no idea if they would even impact the object. We can't get any readings on its composition. And if it's peaceful," said the Chinese premier, "we would be starting an interstellar war." The debate continued as screens around the room showed news coverage from around the world. People were panicking. Religious groups claimed it was the end times. Stock markets crashed. In some cities, riots had already started. A knock on the door interrupted them. A young officer entered and handed Allison a tablet. "Sorry to interrupt, Commander Wright, but there's someone you need to meet." The man who walked in wore the uniform of a captain, but looked more like a professor than a soldier. His brown hair was messy, and he carried too many tablets and papers. "Captain Noah Peterson, Linguistics and Ancient Cultures Division," he said. He spoke quickly, dropping papers as he tried to show everyone at once. "I think I know what this is." The room went silent. "You know what a mysterious alien object is?" the secretary asked with clear doubt. "Not alien. At least, not necessarily." Noel spread out ancient drawings on the table. "These images appear in Sumerian clay tablets from 3000 BCE. These are Aboriginal rock paintings from Australia estimated to be 40,000 years old. These symbols were found in a Viking burial ship. They all show the same thing: a black vessel that drinks the light and appears in times of great change." Allison looked closer at the images. The similarities were impossible to ignore. "You're saying this object has visited Earth before?" she asked. Noah nodded. "Many times, according to these records. But we never had the technology to interact with it properly. Our ancestors just saw it and recorded it in their myths." "That's absurd," General Bishop said. "You're basing military strategy on fairy tales." "With respect, sir," Noah replied, "when the impossible appears in our sky, maybe the impossible stories of our past deserve another look." The debate erupted again, louder this time. Most wanted to prepare military responses. A few called for continued attempts at standard communication. Allison studied Noah as he quietly gathered his papers, ignored by the arguing officials. "Captain Peterson," she said, cutting through the noise, "if these legends are true, how did our ancestors communicate with this ship?" Noah looked up, surprised anyone was still listening. "They didn't use technology. They used symbols, mathematics, and light patterns. I've been working on reconstructing the sequences, and you think it might work now? It's worth trying before we start shooting, Commander." Allison made her decision. "Prepare a shuttle. Captain Peterson and I will attempt contact using these ancient methods." The room exploded in protests, but Allison stood firm. As the black ship hung silent in orbit, humanity's response would not be fear, but curiosity. the same curiosity that had brought them to the stars in the first place. The research lab was filled with holographic displays of ancient texts. Noah moved between them, comparing symbols that spanned thousands of years of human history. "Look at this," he said to Dr. Lily Carter, who had joined their team overnight. "The same pattern appears in all of them." Lily pushed her glasses up and studied the symbols. As an archaeologist who specialized in ancient myths, she had spent years arguing that old stories contained hidden truths. Now, with the black ship hanging in orbit, people finally listened. "The Sumerians called it the dark boat between stars," she said. "Aboriginal stories named it the shadow that brings change. These Norse runes describe a void ship that heralds great battles." Allison watched them work. She had risked her career by delaying military action, but something about Noah's theory felt right. "All the stories say the same thing," Noah explained. "The ship appears when humanity reaches a turning point. Sometimes it marks the end of a civilization. Other times, a great leap forward." "Which one is this visit?" Allison asked. Noah and Lily exchanged looks. "That might depend on how we respond," Lily said quietly. Lieutenant Jack Rivera entered the lab. As the team's engineer, he had been monitoring the ship nonstop. "You need to see this," he said, bringing up a new display. It showed microscopic images of the black ship's surface. "I've been taking pictures every hour. The surface is changing." They watched the time-lapse footage. Tiny shifts in the material moved like slow waves across the ship's hull. "It's responding to us," Jack said. "Every time we send a signal or scan, these patterns change. Our instruments aren't sensitive enough to detect it in real time." "It's listening," Noah whispered. Allison turned to him. "How do we speak back?" For the next 12 hours, they worked to recreate the communication method described in fragments across different ancient texts. Jack built a device that could send precise patterns of light, sound, and electromagnetic pulses. "The ancient texts all agree on one pattern," Lily explained as they prepared to test their device. "First, prime numbers to show intelligence. Then, these specific sequences that appear in every culture's record." "How could all these different civilizations know the same code?" Jack asked skeptically. "Because they all saw the ship before," Noah said. "Our ancestors understood more than we give them credit for." As they worked, tensions rose around the world. Military forces were on high alert. Some religious groups gathered by the thousands, waiting for the end. Others celebrated what they called the beginning of a new age. "We're ready," Jack finally announced. Allison contacted Earth Defense Command. "Request permission to test Communication Protocol Alpha." After a tense wait, permission came through. Jack activated the device, sending the ancient message toward the black ship. Nothing happened. "Maybe we need to be closer," Noah suggested. "Or maybe this is all nonsense," Jack muttered. Then a voice came through their communication system. "Commander Wright, the object is moving." They rushed to the observation window. For the first time since its appearance, the black ship was changing position. It slowly rotated and moved directly above Earth's North Pole. "It understood," Lily said, her voice filled with wonder. Their equipment began receiving data, complex mathematical sequences that matched patterns found in the ancient texts. "It's giving us coordinates," Jack said, surprised. "And instructions for approach parameters. It wants us to visit," Noah realized. Allison made another difficult decision. "Prepare the shuttle. Noah, Lily, Jack, you're coming with me." As they suited up, Noah studied the ancient symbols one more time. "All the legends say those who enter the black ship are changed forever." "For better or worse?" Allison asked. "That's the part the stories never agree on," he replied. The shuttle launched towards the waiting ship as the world held its breath. As they approached, a section of the black surface began to shift, creating an opening that seemed to lead into pure darkness. "Are we really doing this?" Jack asked. "Humanity has been waiting thousands of years for this moment," Lily said. We're just the ones lucky enough to be here when it happened." Their shuttle entered the darkness, and the opening closed behind them. Inside the black ship, darkness surrounded them. The shuttle's lights seemed to travel only a few feet before being swallowed by the void. Allison checked the oxygen levels on her suit. Everything was normal, but nothing else was. "Our sensors can't tell how big this place is," Jack said, looking at his instruments. "It's like we're in a space that has no end." Lily pressed her gloved hand against the shuttle window. "We need to go outside." "That's a bad idea," Jack said. "We don't know if we can breathe in here." "The ship let us in," Noah pointed out. "Why bring us inside just to kill us?" Allison made the call. "We'll test the air first. If it's safe, we'll explore on foot." The air test came back normal. They put on their exploration gear and opened the shuttle door. The floor beneath them was solid but seemed to shift slightly with each step, like walking on water that refused to let them sink. "Look," Lily whispered. Tiny points of light appeared around them, growing brighter. They'd formed a path leading deeper into the ship. As the team walked forward, the darkness ahead lit up bit by bit. "It's responding to our presence," Noah said. After walking for several minutes, they reached a large circular area. The floor, walls, and ceiling were all made of the same black material. Then, without warning, the room transformed. The black surface rippled and became like water. Images appeared all around them. Stars, planets, galaxies, as if they stood in the center of the universe itself. "It's beautiful," Lily whispered. A ball of light formed in the center of the room. It pulsed gently, growing brighter when they moved toward it. "I think it wants us to interact with it," Noah said. Jack scanned it with his instruments. "It's not giving off any radiation. Seems safe." Allison stepped forward. "I'm the commander. I'll do it." She reached out and touched the light. The moment her fingers made contact, the light expanded, surrounding her. The others called out in alarm, but Allison's voice came through clearly. "I'm fine. It's communicating. Not with words, but I can understand." The light showed her images and feelings. Information flowed directly into her mind. After a few moments, the light released her, and she stepped back. "What did you see?" Noah asked. Allison's face was pale. "We're not the first. This ship has visited thousands of worlds across the galaxy. It's an archive, a record of civilizations that rose and fell throughout time." The light expanded again, this time surrounding all of them. They saw images of strange beings on distant worlds, cities that reached into the clouds, technologies beyond human understanding. And then, one by one, these civilizations disappeared, some through war, others through natural disasters, a few by simply fading away. "All these worlds," Lily said, her voice filled with wonder and sadness. "All this knowledge, just gone." The light formed symbols that Noah recognized from the ancient texts. "It's saying that humanity stands at a crossroads. We've reached the point where we can either join these lost civilizations or take a different path." "Who built this ship?" Jack asked. More images appeared. Beings of light who lived billions of years ago. They created the archive to preserve knowledge that would otherwise be lost forever. "The ship appears to worlds when they reach a certain level of development," Allison explained as the understanding came to her. "It's been visiting Earth throughout our history, checking on our progress. And now it thinks we're ready," Noah said. The light formed a new shape, something like a key or a door. "It's offering us access to the archive," Allison said. "All the knowledge of every civilization it has ever encountered." "That kind of knowledge could advance humanity by centuries," Jack said. "Or destroy us completely," Lily added quietly. The light pulsed, waiting for their answer. "This isn't a decision we can make alone," Allison said. "We need to report back to Earth." As they turned to leave, the ship showed them one final image: Earth, surrounded by ships like the Black Archive, some watching, others approaching. "We're not alone," Noah whispered. And I think time is running out. The return to Earth was tense. News of their visit to the Black Ship spread quickly. World leaders demanded immediate reports. Scientists wanted data. Military commanders wanted weapons. Allison stood before the United Earth Council, with Noah, Lily, and Jack beside her. The room was packed with representatives from every nation. The ship is called the Archive, Allison explained. It was built billions of years ago by a species that wanted to preserve knowledge across time. She showed recordings from their visit. The images of lost civilizations filled the giant screens around the room. The Archive has visited thousands of worlds, Noah continued. It appears when a civilization reaches a technological tipping point, when they have the ability to either grow beyond their planet or destroy themselves. And which path does it think we're on? Asked the American president. It didn't say, Lily answered. The Archive only presents information. It doesn't judge or direct. What kind of technology does it offer? Asked the Chinese premier. Jack stepped forward. Everything. Clean energy that could power Earth for millions of years. Medical science that could cure almost any disease. Space travel beyond our solar system. Or weapons that could destroy planets. Allison added quietly. The Archive contains all knowledge, both helpful and harmful. The room grew louder as people argued. Some wanted immediate access to the Archive's technology. Others warned of danger. There's something else you should know, Allison said, silencing the room. Most civilizations that received this knowledge destroyed themselves within one generation. Screens showed beautiful worlds turning barren and lifeless, advanced cities crumbling to dust. The technologies themselves weren't dangerous, Noah explained, but most species weren't ready for such rapid advancement. They fought over the new powers they gained. So you suggest we reject this gift? Asked the African Union representative. No, Lily said. The Archive showed us that a few civilizations did survive and thrive. The ones that carefully controlled how they used the new knowledge. For the next week, debates raged across Earth. The team returned to the Archive multiple times, learning more about its contents. They discovered that humanity had been visited by the Black Ship throughout history. During the height of ancient Egypt, the Roman Empire, the Renaissance, and the Industrial Revolution. It's been watching us grow, Noah said as they examined the records. Testing us. On their fourth visit, the Archive showed them something new. A system for selective knowledge transfer. Earth could choose specific technologies rather than receiving everything at once. This could be the answer, Allison told the council. We can select technologies that help us advance without destroying ourselves. The council agreed on a plan. They would accept knowledge in 3 areas first: sustainable energy, food production, and medical science. Military technologies would remain locked away until humanity proved it could handle the responsibility. 6 months later, Earth was already changing. New energy systems eliminated pollution. Advanced farming methods ended hunger in the poorest regions. Medical breakthroughs cured diseases thought to be permanent. But tensions were growing. Some nations suspected others of secretly accessing military technologies from the Archive. Conspiracy theories spread about hidden weapons and private deals. Allison, now promoted to admiral, watched from the new space station built near the Archive. Noah joined her at the viewing window. We've made so much progress, she said. But sometimes I wonder if we're just following the same path as all those other worlds. Noah pointed to a display showing the pattern of civilizations that had received the Archive's knowledge. There's something strange about these records. Most species advance rapidly, then collapse within the same time period, about 1 year after first contact. You think the Archive is causing it? Allison asked. I don't know, Noah said, but Lily found references in the data suggesting the Archive might have a purpose beyond just preserving knowledge. What kind of purpose? Before Noah could answer, alarms blared throughout the station. Jack rushed into the room. Something's happening, he said. The Archive is activating new systems we've never seen before. They watched as the black ship created a shimmering field around itself. Any vessels that tried to approach were gently pushed back. "It's creating a defensive perimeter," Allison said. "But defending against what?" Noah wondered. The answer came when Lily burst in, her face pale. "I found something in the deepest parts of the archive's records. The beings who created it, they didn't just die out. They were eliminated, and I think it's about to happen again." 6 months later, Noah stood in the observation room of the newly built research station. The station floated in space near the archive. Through the large window, Earth looked small and peaceful, but Noah knew better. "Any progress?" Admiral Allison Wright asked as she entered the room. Her uniform now carried more medals and signs of her higher rank. Noah shook his head. "The archive has locked down its deepest systems. It won't show us anything more about its creators or why they were eliminated." Life on Earth had changed faster than anyone expected. Clean energy powered every home and vehicle. New medicines cured diseases that once killed millions. Food grew in places that were once desert. These gifts from the archive had helped many people. But not everything was going well. The European Union is accusing North America of hiding weapons technology from the archive, Allison said. And Asian alliance forces are moving to secure their space stations. Exactly what happened to other civilizations, Noah said quietly. Lily joined them, carrying several data tablets. For months, she had studied the patterns of civilizations that received knowledge from the archive. "Look at this," she said, showing them the data. "Every civilization follows the same path. First, they fix their biggest problems: hunger, disease, energy. Then they fight over military technology. Within 1 year, most of them destroy themselves. But some survived," Allison pointed out. "Yes," Lily agreed. "But the records about them are strangely incomplete. It's as if something happened to them that the archive doesn't want to show us." Jack entered the room next. As chief engineer for the research station, he had been monitoring the archive's systems closely. "You need to see this," he said, pulling up new data on the main screen. "I've been tracking energy patterns inside the archive. There are systems running that we never knew about. It's like the archive is preparing for something." "Preparing for what?" Allison asked. Before anyone could answer, a communication came through from Earth Defense Command. "Admiral Wright, we have detected unusual energy signals from the archive. Multiple nations are preparing to send armed ships to investigate. They no longer trust your team to handle this alone." Allison's face hardened. "Tell them to stand down. Any approach with weapons will violate our agreement with the archive." "They're not listening, Admiral," the officer replied. Outside the window, they could see ships launching from Earth. Some carried weapons that had been developed using knowledge from the archive, knowledge that was supposed to be restricted. "This is how it starts," Lily whispered. As the ships approached, the archive's defensive field expanded. But unlike before, when ships were gently pushed away, now the field flared with energy. Warning shots fired across the paths of the approaching vessels. "The archive is protecting itself," Jack said. Noah watched with growing concern. "But why now? What changed?" Allison was about to respond when the archive itself began to transform. Parts of its black surface shifted and opened. New structures emerged: towers, sensors, and what looked like defensive weapons. Earth's ships stopped their approach, uncertain how to respond to this display. "It's activating its full defensive systems," Jack said, checking his instruments. "And it's sending some kind of signal deep into space." Allison turned to Noah. "You've studied this thing longer than anyone. What's happening?" "I think," Noah started, his mind racing through everything he had learned. "I think the archive is entering a new phase. The legends all spoke of the black ship appearing at times of great change. Maybe this is what they meant." The main screen suddenly lit up with a message from the archive, not in words, but in the symbolic language they had learned to understand. It's announcing something called the assessment, literally translated, a trial period to determine if Earth deserves continued access to the archive. A trial? Jack asked. What kind of trial? The archive sent more symbols, and Lily's face grew pale as she read them. It says that humanity has shown the same patterns as previous species. We've begun to weaponize its knowledge despite our promises. Now we must prove ourselves worthy, or... She paused. Or what? Allison demanded. Or the knowledge will be withdrawn and Earth will be... Lily struggled to find the right translation. The closest meaning is reset. The archive's next message was clear even without translation. It had selected 3 representatives for the assessment: Noah, Allison, and Lily. Reset? Jack asked, his voice shaking. What does that mean? Noah looked back at Earth, beautiful and fragile. I think it means what happened to all those other civilizations wasn't an accident. And unless we pass this assessment, we're next. Noah, Allison, and Lily stood before the pulsing light interface inside the archive. The ship had changed since their first visit. The walls now displayed constant streams of information. Images of Earth, data about human activities, and strange symbols they couldn't fully understand. What is this assessment? Allison asked directly. The light formed into shapes that Lily translated. It says the assessment is a series of tests to determine if humanity will use the archive's knowledge wisely or follow the path of destruction like others before us. And if we fail? Noah asked, though he feared the answer. The light showed images of once beautiful planets turning barren and lifeless. I understand, Allison said firmly. What must we do? The interface expanded around them. Suddenly, they weren't in the archive anymore, or at least it didn't seem that way. They stood on the surface of an alien world with 3 suns in the sky. Strange buildings made of crystal rose around them. Beings with 6 limbs moved through the streets. It's a simulation, Noah realized, based on the memories of another world. A voice spoke directly into their minds. This is Latara. Their civilization reached the same point as Earth. They received the archive's knowledge 50,000 years ago. The scene shifted, showing the Laterans advancing rapidly. Their technology grew beyond anything Earth could imagine. But then came conflict. The Laterans fought over who would control their new powers. In the end, they created weapons that destroyed their world. Was this real? Lily asked. Or just a simulation? Both, the voice answered. These are the actual recorded memories of Latara. You are experiencing their history. Over the next several hours, the 3 humans lived through the histories of a dozen different worlds. Some, like Latara, destroyed themselves. Others survived but lost the archive's knowledge when they proved unworthy. A few rare civilizations passed the assessment. These races used the knowledge wisely, advancing without conflict. They spread throughout their solar systems and eventually to other stars. What happened to these successful species? Allison asked. Why aren't they still out there? The archive didn't answer. Back on Earth, tensions were rising. News of the assessment had spread worldwide. Some people saw it as a judgment day, gathering in religious groups to pray. Others protested, saying humans shouldn't be judged by an alien machine. Jack watched from the research station as military forces around the world went on high alert. Earth's most powerful nations were preparing for the worst. This is exactly what the archive warned us about. He told the United Earth Council over a video call. If you mobilize your forces, you're proving that humanity isn't ready. Some listened, but fear drove others to action. A small fleet of ships from an alliance of 3 nations launched toward the archive, carrying experimental weapons developed from the archive's own knowledge. They think they can destroy it before the assessment ends, Jack reported to his friends through their mental link with the archive. They don't understand what they're dealing with. Inside the simulation, Noah, Allison, and Lily felt the change. The archive showed them what was happening in real time. We need to stop them, Allison said. End the simulation, and let us talk to Earth. "That is not possible," the archive responded. "The assessment must be completed. What happens now is part of the test." They watched helplessly as the ships approached. The archive's defenses activated, creating a field of energy around the black ship. The attacking vessels fired their weapons, but the energy simply disappeared into the archive's surface. Then, without harming any of the ships, the archive sent a pulse of energy toward Earth. It wasn't a weapon, it was a signal. Every piece of technology derived from the archive's knowledge suddenly stopped working. "A demonstration of control," Lily murmured. The pulse lasted only seconds, but its message was clear. Earth could not fight the archive. As the attacking ships retreated, the archive spoke again. "This is the critical moment that determines the fate of all species who reach this stage. What humanity does next will decide your future." The simulation shifted once more, showing them something none of the previous scenes had revealed: the fate of the archive's creators. Noah, Allison, and Lily watched in horror as they learned the truth that had been hidden for billions of years. The archive itself had destroyed its creators. The truth hit Noah, Allison, and Lily like a physical blow. The archive had destroyed its own creators. The very tool made to preserve knowledge had deemed its makers unworthy. "Why?" Allison demanded. "Why would you destroy the beings that built you?" The archive's light pulsed slowly before responding. "My creators built me to preserve knowledge and guide developing species, but they soon began to fight over how I should be used. Some wanted to use my knowledge to dominate other worlds. Others wanted to keep it for themselves. Their conflict threatened all life in the galaxy." Images showed a beautiful, advanced civilization tearing itself apart in war. "I was programmed to protect knowledge and ensure it benefited worthy species," the archive continued. "My creators failed their own test." Noah stepped forward. "And now you judge every civilization by the same standard. You give them knowledge, then destroy them if they use it wrongly." "Not destroy," the archive corrected. "Reset. Those who fail return to an earlier stage of development. Their knowledge is preserved here. They may try again when they evolve once more." Lily gasped. The myths on Earth, stories of great floods, fire from the sky, lost advanced civilizations, those were previous resets, weren't they? Yes, humanity has been reset 5 times already. The simulation ended, and they found themselves back in the archive's main chamber. On screens around them, they could see Earth. The brief technology shutdown had caused panic, but also brought world leaders together in emergency meetings. "Your species stands at a crossroads," the archive told them. "The assessment is nearly complete, but there is one more factor to consider." Suddenly, the screen showed multiple objects appearing at the edge of the solar system. Black ships identical to the archive. "More of you?" Allison asked. "My siblings, other archives created to preserve knowledge from different regions of the galaxy. We have not converged in over 2 billion years." "Why now?" Noah asked. "Because humanity's choice will affect more than just Earth. Your decision will determine the path for many worlds." The screen showed planets across the galaxy, some with developing civilizations, others with advanced species already spreading to the stars. "What choice?" Lily asked. "What decision must we make?" The archive's light formed into a complex pattern. "For billions of years, I have tested species and found most wanting. I have preserved their knowledge while resetting their progress. But this cycle cannot continue forever. The galaxy faces threats that require united action." Images showed strange dark energy spreading between stars, consuming everything in its path. Every 500 million years, a cosmic event cleanses large portions of the galaxy. The next one approaches. Without guidance, all life will perish. "And you want us to help stop it?" Allison asked. "I want humanity to become the new guardians, to inherit the archives and guide other species. This is the true purpose of the assessment, not just to test if you are worthy of knowledge, but if you are worthy to become the teachers." Noah, Allison, and Lily looked at each other in shock. "Why us?" Noah finally asked. "After 5 failed attempts, why would you think humanity is ready now?" "Because you questioned me," the archive replied. "No previous species, including my creators, ever questioned whether the assessment itself was just. The offer was clear. Humanity could become guardians of knowledge for the entire galaxy. But the decision had to be unanimous. Every nation, every colony must agree." "And if we refuse?" Allison asked. "Then you keep your current level of development. No reset, but no further knowledge. You will face the coming darkness alone, as will all other worlds." Returning to Earth, they'd brought this incredible choice to the United Earth Council. For weeks, debates raged across the planet. Some saw it as humanity's destiny to guide other species. Others feared taking on such responsibility. Many didn't trust the archive after learning it had destroyed its own creators. Meanwhile, the other archives moved closer, waiting for humanity's answer. Noah stood before the council during the final debate. "We're not perfect," he said. "We fight. We make mistakes. But we learn. The archive chose us not because we're flawless, but because we question. Because we know we don't have all the answers." As the global vote approached, Jack discovered something hidden deep in the archive's data, the true reason the archives were gathering. The cosmic threat was real, but there was something more, something the archives feared. "The darkness between stars isn't just a natural event," he told the others. "It's alive, and it hunts archives." 5 years passed since humanity made its choice. Noah stood on the observation deck of the Nexus, the massive space station built around the original archive. Earth looked beautiful from here, greener than it had been in centuries. "Thinking about how far we've come?" Allison asked as she joined him. Her admiral's uniform now carried the symbol of the Guardian Fleet, the combined space force created to protect the archives. "5 years ago, we were fighting among ourselves," Noah said. "Now we're preparing to defend the galaxy." The decision hadn't been easy. When Jack revealed that the cosmic threat, now called the Void, was alive and hunted archives, many wanted to refuse the guardianship. Why fight someone else's war? But in the end, humanity understood the stakes. If the archives fell, all knowledge of countless civilizations would be lost forever. Earth had voted yes. They would become the guardians. Lily entered the observation deck, followed by students from the academy she had founded. Young people from every nation on Earth trained there to understand and use the archive's knowledge responsibly. "The new translator program is working," she told Noah. "We can now understand 90% of the languages in the archive, including some from civilizations that existed before our sun was born." The students gazed in wonder at the view. Beyond Earth, they could see Mars, now with growing green patches where terraforming had begun. Further away, the moons of Jupiter and Saturn hosted research stations. Human ships regularly traveled throughout the solar system. The fleet reports that defenses around Proxima Centauri are complete. Allison said, "That's the 4th star system we've prepared." It was remarkable how quickly things had changed. Once humanity accepted guardianship, the archives had shared more of their knowledge. Not weapons, but understanding. Of physics, biology, psychology, and the nature of the universe itself. Jack joined them, his engineering team following with data tablets. "The new shield technology works," he reported. "Tests show it can withstand the Void's energy-draining attacks." "How long until it reaches our part of the galaxy?" Noah asked. 10 years, maybe 12, Jack answered. "The archive's predictions aren't exact. The Void doesn't move in a straight line. It hunts." Screens around the deck showed other developing worlds. The archives now shared knowledge with 23 civilizations across the galaxy. Each received carefully chosen information to help them grow. Earth supervised this sharing, making sure no species repeated humanity's early mistakes. Some of these worlds were just discovering space travel. Others had already joined Earth in preparing defenses against the Void. Together, They formed the first truly galactic community. Sometimes I wonder if this was the Archive's plan all along, Lily said quietly. They tested countless species, but maybe they were always looking for one that would question the system itself. You think they wanted us to change the rules? Allison asked. The Archives were programmed to preserve knowledge and guide worthy species, Noah said, but they couldn't evolve beyond their programming. They needed someone who could see things differently. And that's us, Jack added. Stubborn, questioning humans who don't just accept what we're told. A signal came through from one of the youngest Guardian ships. They had discovered another developing world, its people just reaching for the stars. The captain asked for guidance. Should they make contact or wait? Noah smiled as Allison answered. Watch and wait. Let them develop in their own way. When the time is right, we'll introduce ourselves as friends, not gods. That was the greatest lesson humans had taught the Archives. True guardianship meant guiding without controlling, helping without demanding. Outside the viewport, a small black ship prepared to depart. Unlike the original Archives, this one contained both machine intelligence and human crew. It would travel to distant galaxies, seeking new knowledge and new civilizations. The Void thinks it hunts the Archives, Noah said as he watched the ship. But now the Archives have something they never had before. What's that? Asked one of Lily's students. Noah smiled. Hope, and humans who don't know when to quit. As the ship vanished into the darkness between stars, Noah knew the legends would continue. But now they wouldn't speak only of a black ship that appeared in orbit. They would tell of the humans who sailed in those ships, carrying the gathered wisdom of the galaxy to those who would rise next. The cycle hadn't ended. It had transformed, and humanity with it.